Right, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel and it is Good Friday, so happy Easter to all of the Camel crew. We had the release of macro data in the form of PCE and core PCE yesterday along with GDP and initial jobless claims. Now, I'm not even going to look at the jobless claims really because they keep revising them, right? I think something like 8 out of the last 10 jobs datas have been revised 2 weeks later. And I showed the other week that U3 is spiking. So I don't trust this jobless claims data one bit. I don't really trust any of the data these days, as you know. I trust it about as much as China or Venezuela. But if we're going to take this thing at face value, then core PCE stayed around the same, okay? And it actually came in lower than expected. Again, if we take this thing at face value, GDP came in well above expectations. And this should therefore be highly favorable for the Goldilocks narrative to persist. Remember, all the while we're in this Goldilocks zone, the market can continue to melt faces. It can continue to climb this wall of worry. It can continue to put in what I have been speculating will be this blow-off top. Here is a nice look, okay, at the S&P 500 one monthly close-only line chart. And what you can see is going back to the early 90s, we are in this parabola. Now, you tell me, how often is it that we see these parabolas break down something like this? Okay, I don't personally see that. What I normally see is a big blow off top that culminates in a big crash. Just like I'm sure you've seen with the Wall Street cheat sheet, right? We get this parabola and it culminates in a big crash before a big base, and then we can do the whole thing all over again. So again, we continue to expect, okay, until invalidated on this idea, we continue to expect this parabola to keep playing out. Now, of course, if it breaks down, okay, if it does do something like this, right, or indeed like this, then we can scratch this off and say, well, kind of a big parabola, but not the blow off top that Camel was expecting. But all the while we keep holding these parabolas, right? All the while this melt up chart keeps looking more or less like it's on track. And in case you're brand new here, this is not supposed to predict a price or a date. This is just an arbitrary yellow squiggle. But all the while we're tracking this, okay, then we will continue to use this as the base case hypothesis. Same with this, right? All the while we have not violated this parabola, then we're going to continue to expect this thing to go more and more vertical until it does eventually violate this parabola. So again, what a wild time to be alive. And as I keep saying, this year is only going to get more and more wild. We've got the biggest jump in RRP, reverse repo, since the beginning of the year, which is suggestive of coming liquidity drainage. So happy Easter. Happy Easter, everyone. Let's see what's going to happen to this going forward. Could this indeed be a catalyst to cool off sentiment in the short to medium term? We're going to find out, right? We're going to find out. Needless to say, the markets are closed today, but not in the world of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, of course. We have $9.5 billion worth of Bitcoin options expiring today. So a lot of people have been speculating this is going to cause a short squeeze, and maybe that is the way. Okay, maybe that's what we're going to see, some kind of gamma squeeze and a bunch of shorts get wrecked. As it stands right now, we have not yet seen this reflected in the price. We'll get to the charts in a minute. As always, the Bitcoin ETFs continue to do ETF things. We saw the spot Bitcoin ETFs buy just over 3,500 Bitcoin yesterday alone, whilst miners only produced 850 Bitcoin. And remember, in around a month's time after the halving, the average of 900 Bitcoin a day is going to be halved to around 450 a day. If this demand can stay anywhere near consistent, there is going to be a massive imbalance in supply and demand. There already is a massive imbalance, as you can see. But again, once this number drops to 450 a day, then that supply and demand imbalance is going to be massive, as I'm sure you can appreciate. Speaking of the ETFs, BlackRock Spot Bitcoin ETF now holds over 250,000 Bitcoin worth just under $18 billion. So let that sink in, okay? I also saw Larry Fink has come out and said that he wasn't expecting retail demand to be this high for the ETF, but I just thought I would add here, I don't really think it's the retail that's driving this market. I don't think retail has $18 billion worth of spot Bitcoin ETF holdings. I think this is institutional demand, and retail has yet to truly arrive. Nice chart here from NASCO again. As I look at the reserve risk chart, my gut tells me we're about to witness something epic, something that will be phenomenal and historic. Long and strong Camel Crew indeed. You can see down the bottom, okay, we have historically seen tops come in for the market when we reach the red upper zone. But as it stands, after this entire move off the lows, okay, after this 400% gain for Bitcoin, we are no way near entering the red zone. In fact, we are just about leaving the green zone. So it tells us to keep an open mind, doesn't it? Again, about better than expected outcomes for Bitcoin walking forward. 10 million. There's always someone that says, are you predicting 10 million? No, that's just an arbitrary red line. I shouldn't have to say that, but I know I do. Keeping on with this theme of parabolas today, if Bitcoin can print another all-time high, we might have just begun the move from wave 4 to wave 5. And until then, it remains unsure whether this bounce is part of a larger flat correction or that it has finished already. So again, are we about to see 2024 be the year of the parabola, right? Are we going to continue to see these parabolas come to fruition, play out? Are we about to enter the near vertical portion? Have we got a 5-wave impulsive move to the top before then, of course, we come tumbling down in spectacular fashion, as is typical following the crescendo of a parabola? And again, if we were to violate this parabola, something like this or like this over the not too distant future, then I'll hold my hands up and say we're invalidated. I will continue to adapt to the new data as it is presented to me, and we will establish a plan B. But all the while we're holding this parabola, okay, all the while we continue to expect further upside, all the while we do not get a violation either sideways or down, then we will continue to accept this as the primary hypothesis. And from Bitcoin to gold, look at this. This is the most this is the most bullish gold chart I have seen in a very, very long time. Pause your screen and take a good look at this, okay? How can we argue that on a monthly close, with the chart looking like this, that this is anything other than bullish as a son of a gun? Gold is set to do Bitcoin things as well. I am sure of that. So hopping into the charts, as I said earlier, you know, it's a Easter weekend, as I'm sure you know. Probably not going to be a great deal of change anywhere today. But for now, at least, the Dixie is attempting to break out, attempting to leave behind a 3-year cycle low and break out. So this is going to be something we should keep an eye on over the coming days and weeks. For me to flip back to bearish, I need to see this breakout invalidate. I need to see this breakout roll over, and then we can talk about bringing back a 3-year cycle low later in the year and putting that idea back on the table. But all the while we're above the downward sloping red resistance line, all the while this is a confirmed breakout, then we have to accept that this is most probably the 3-year cycle low. And it begs the question, doesn't it? Are we staring down the barrel of some kind of crisis? Because when you have everything rallying with the dollar, okay, we could be setting the scene for some real trouble in the not too distant future. So something to keep in mind. I see a lot of people calling for 106 and then a rollover. Maybe. But like I said, all the while we have broken out, then this is potentially a canary in the coal mine for the latter portion of this melt up chart. Despite the dollar being bid, okay, gold is bid as well. So happy days, long and strong, continue to push. We love to see it. Cycle lows again, providing an edge. The stock market, a little bit over halfway through this daily cycle. The same is true of the NASDAQ, and we continue to push our Dow Jones long. We continue to push our Russell 2K position as well. Russell 2K, if I move this out the way, look, starting to look more and more bullish by the day, isn't it? Let's zoom in a little bit on this so we can see, you know, starting to clear, okay, starting to make higher highs and higher lows. That's what we like to see. So long and strong, continue to push there. Bitcoin still kind of boring people. There's a lot of talk about short squeeze. There's a lot of talk about gammon squeeze on this options expiry. But as it stands, right, we know that we've got our blue support line. We also know our line in the sand is that cycle low. And as I keep saying, all the while we're above that, then I do not care. Okay, I do not care. As I also said, we have to be open to seeing some kind of double top, and then we could talk about more of a consolidation cycle. And the same is true if we just poke above it and then do something more like this. Then we have to be open to a consolidation cycle. But for now, right, all the while we're above the low, all the while we keep going this way in general, then long and strong continue to push, and I do not care about anything else. And the crypto-related stocks, reasonable close, right, above support, happy days. MicroStrategy, there's some bear raid going on at the moment, isn't there? There's people, someone shorting this, some kind of fund shorting MicroStrategy, saying it's overdone. As I keep saying, okay, they could be right. But also, do not jump in front of a train, okay? Just because the chart looks overdone does not mean that massive gaps up can't occur in the not too distant future, okay? That could certainly be something that happens. It wouldn't be the first time I've seen it. This seems way too early in the cycle to be trying to short this. However, something else that we should be open to and aware of that I've shown before, okay, is if this does end up being the top, if that really was the top and this thing starts breaking down violently, okay, first of all, then we want to be getting out of our positions, dealing with that as it comes. That's why we have the lines in the sand. But also remember, I showed before that if we overlay Bitcoin in orange here, what we noticed is MicroStrategy topped in February of 2021, okay, and then what we saw was a significant top come in for Bitcoin a couple of months later. And then what you'll notice is, even though Bitcoin went on to make a slightly higher high up at this 69k region, MicroStrategy had already significantly topped, right? Came nowhere near its prior all-time high here, and then we entered the bear market. So I have pointed at this once or twice before and said, maybe that is nothing, but also maybe it isn't nothing, okay? Maybe this is something. And it does make me wonder if the top really comes in for MicroStrategy now, which I don't think it does, right? But if it does indeed break down from these blue lines, if we start to see a chart shape take on this kind of look, whilst Bitcoin does this kind of thing, okay, then it tells me to keep an open mind that that is the ultimate top for MicroStrategy and it's not going to make a new high, because that's what happened last time around, okay? Particularly if that whole left translated cycle idea of mine for Bitcoin comes to fruition as well, then maybe this is a leading indicator, okay? Just a maybe. As ever, we'll keep taking it one day at a time. For now, No need to worry, in my humble opinion. We also saw no significant changes from Riot. Marathon started to catch a little bit of a pump, didn't it? But that was sold into. So anyway, like, it doesn't really matter. I still get people going to, oh no, look at the selling pressure on Marathon. Like, right, just relax. Just relax. Okay, long and strong continue to push. I don't know how many more times I can say it. You know, the stop is the stop for a reason. And long and strong, see what the market will give. That's all we can do. There's no point me getting wound up, or anyone. I'm obviously not wound up, but there's no point you getting wound up if you're one of these people that keep stressing every move up and down. Okay, if you are, you probably just got way too much leverage, way too much size, whatever it is, right? But manage your expectations. This could chop around for another 2 months if Bitcoin enters a consolidation cycle. So manage your expectations, manage your positions. I'm also getting a lot of people say to me, you know, what do you think about this news? What do you think about CLSK's news? What do you think about... I don't watch the news, okay? I don't watch the news. I don't care. I'm a charts guy. And if you want to be a fundamental guy, that's absolutely up to you. That's your prerogative. But for me, all the news is noise, okay? Because, you know, people are saying, well, someone's shorting this. They've picked the top. It's this big fund. Yeah, well, if this really is the top, then we know what comes next, right? A trend line breakdown of the upper slope and blue support. That's why the trend line is there. If, however, and I suspect this is probably the case, that fund has not managed to snipe the top and short this thing to zero, then what if we get a hold of support and a push off? Okay, well, then we'll keep remaining long and the news would have been irrelevant. So the news is always irrelevant. What happens in the chart is the truth. Okay, that's why I focus on the charts. I know for CLSK there was some kind of dilution, but does it really matter? Does it actually matter? If it does, it will show up in the charts. Okay, so as always, charts are king, charts are the truth, charts do not lie. I'm your boy Camel. I hope you're doing well in life. I hope you have a fantastic Easter weekend. And until next time, take care from me. All the best. Cheers.